first page. Okay. 50-50 split is shared by the exact position indicated exactly to be described as the exact halfway point between the first 50% is designated. It's on a line which occurs precisely between the first half and the second half of chromosome number 22. If the region has been named 515022q, it would be claiming a possible interpretable fact by the designated name and region it was given. If it's called region 515022q, well, then I named it, but it's not called that. It's called region 22q11.2. So I said 515022q. I said that's what I would call it. 515022q region. That's what I would say it is. But it's actually called 22q11.2 region. So I didn't name it, but I saw what it was called, and I thought I wouldn't name it that one. I wouldn't name it. That's not what I call it. I definitely would not name it that region. When I saw what it was actually called, I said I would not name it that. No way. I would actually name it 515022q region. It's actually called 22q11.2. I would never let it be called that. When I saw that I thought that's something I would never allow it to be called. Okay, so why in the hell did someone name it? Why did they name it 22q11.2 region? Well, I had to ascertain that at some point. I expect I could do it. But what I saw right away, before I even knew, was that I already know what name someone else named it as, and I already recognized why they called it 22q11.2, because they wanted to name it something that which suggested what it was. Region 22q11.2 is a region of chromosome number 22, which goes through what's called a deletion event and disappears. So that when there's a deletion event and region 22q11.2 disappears, so chromosome number 22 loses part of itself permanently forever. No one can explain what happens to it because it's not there. It's not a piece of evidence. It just is gone. It just disappears. It's called a deletion event. Whoever named the region 22q11.2 knew something, and they called it that because they wanted to suggest what it was, even though they weren't going to even explain it. They weren't going to say what the region was. They were going to say it's part of chromosome number 22. So it's part of the chromosome 22. It's also called 22q11.2 because that's what we called it. And so if you'd have to have an understanding already in order to see that that's what they called it. Well, I recognize why they would say that. So wait a minute, you would not call it that? No, I'd say you cannot call it. That's the one name you cannot name it because you're trying to suggest something to the whole world when you're saying that's the region that has a deletion event. Wait a minute, you mean to say that the name of the region is important? It's not important, but it could suggest what the region is, or even what it's not. So by naming the region some specific thing, you could you could put a suggestion in there that we don't know what it is, but we don't even know what that region is or what it really does. But the name of it could describe something I want you to think it is or does. You see? It has nothing to do with 1.2. And the fact that 22 is exactly half of 11 and 0.2 could represent two sexes, or 11.2 is half of 22.4. And if you know genetics, then what you're going to find is that during mitosis and meiosis, the cellular division doesn't actually divide into two halves until the fourth state, or the fourth position, which means that when cells are dividing, they don't become actually separated till position number 4, where they actually become in a division divided. In the first 3 positions, they're starting to divide, but they're not divided yet. And in the 4th position, they have succeeded in a division and created two halves now that are not attached or even connected anymore, which means that it suggests a lot. The first thing that it suggests is that the exact location of the region to be marked as the position where they call the region identified as is in a certain place on chromosome number 22. So it's important to know that we want to know exactly where on that chromosome is that region located. It's located exactly halfway, just past halfway, just barely, so that it could say that it's a little bit more than halfway, but it's not any more than just a little bit past, so that it's right in the middle, exactly at the halfway point, but just a little bit too far to the right, like one click, like 1 millimeter. So it's not perfectly divided into half, a first half and a second half. Chromosome number 22 and 22q11.2 region is right at the halfway point, but just enough to say, but look at it carefully. Is that halfway? That's the halfway point. Exactly. No, it's just an iota over to the right and not the halfway point exactly. So you're trying to say it's like 51 degrees of 100 degrees? Yeah, it's not 50-50. It's 51-49. So they didn't place it in the middle. No, they placed it just one freaking measurement over from the middle to the right. That's the region it's in. It's representing the division of the possibility on chromosome number 22. The region's located not at the exact halfway point, but one freaking iota to the right of the exact way. So what you're going to say is that's right in the middle, isn't it? Look closer. Isn't it right in the middle? Look closer. That's like literally in the middle, but it was placed like just to the right to where it couldn't be considered in the middle anymore. But maybe it is. No, look closely. It's not. It's to the right, isn't it? Somebody intentionally set it, just offset it, so it's not two halves. It's a first half a little bit bigger than the second half. It's like saying I'm going to take 100 degrees and divide them into 51-49. So 51 is the first half and 49 is the second. That's exactly where the region's located. What does that mean? That means that wherever that spot is significant. Significant. What does that mean? You mean there's something to know about it? If you know the location of the exact spot, it'll tell you some insight that if you can see it is profound. Okay, so we know where it is now. Is there anything profound about that region? Yes, indeed. In fact, what I just saw was so profound. I can't believe they offset it just so it's 1/10 of a thousandth of a degree. Yeah, wherever that spot is, it's saying that it's right in the middle, but we placed it to the right just enough that it can't be considered even. It's not divided in the middle point. It is literally not divided because it's over to the right. And so it's not in two halves. It's still in one piece. Wait a minute. Are you saying if this region has a deletion event, it'll be how it divides itself? and completes its division? Well, if you have the insight to see what I'm telling you, yes. Wait a minute, but I have no understanding. I can't see that. Well, that's the whole point. If you can't interpret and observe it, let me tell you something. If that line of demarcation was exactly in the middle, it would tell me something entirely different. It would say that the process of cellular division could be natural. And I'd say that if that's the case, if there's a deletion event right exactly in the middle, it would happen in the middle because it would be that the entire chromosome number 22 is trying to split into two pieces. So what I'd see if it was exactly in the middle is chromosome number 22 is having a deletion event to try to separate from itself into two pieces instead of one, because it doesn't want to be one piece. It wants to just have two halves. So I'd say a deletion event that we can explain why it's happening. It's happening because chromosome number 22 is, for some reason, trying to become two parts instead of just one. That's why we can't explain what happened, why it's occurring. When the deletion event occurs, we're saying we don't know why it occurs, but we also know that it's also associated with a flare-up of a bunch of genetic disorders like schizophrenia, epilepsy, which means what we observe that when the deletion event occurs, we don't know why it occurs, but we know it does. And what happens is if region 22q11.2 has a deletion event or occurrence, it won't be divided in two halves at the end of the event because it wasn't exactly in the middle. It won't complete the being separated. It'll only be a partial deletion event. So what you'll find is it's not two pieces. It's actually almost in two halves, and it's been partially cut open, and then it's not. Somebody didn't finish separating it. Are you trying to tell me the deletion event started but didn't go all the way through the whole process? Yes, that's what I'm telling you, man. What you're witnessing here is you're witnessing that a deletion event of region 22q11.2 that nobody knows why it happened. Well, we also know that it is also not to be related to a bunch of diseases and disorders because there's no link. We also know that even though there's no parent link, there has to be. So that the researchers that found there was no link between contributing factors for why a deletion event that occurs on chromosome number 22 could also cause genetic disorders or have them flare up, meaning they were trying to say, we've done extensive research on this, and there is no link or contributing factors for why a deletion event on chromosome number 22 has anything to do with genetic disorders or sicknesses or diseases, because there's no found factors that we can find that say it is. So we're saying it's not related. The fact that genetic disorders and sicknesses occur have nothing to do with the fact that chromosome number 22 has a deletion event. And I'm going to tell you that that's just not true at all. In fact, what they're telling you is we can't find a link between disease and a deletion event on chromosome number 22, so it can't be linked. And what I'm telling you is I can also see what they're describing as a deletion event was only a partial deletion event. So what I'm telling you is when they're saying that a deletion event occurred on chromosome number 22, I'm looking at it and I'm looking at the exact region and location where it is so I can learn something. What I learn is that it's not a deletion event. In fact, chromosome 22 is not in two halves and it didn't complete the division. It's still one piece, but I could see clearly the deletion event started to occur, and chromosome number 22 started to become two halves that would be separate from each other. And right at the last place where it stopped, somehow the deletion event started up and didn't finish. Wait a minute. You're saying that? Yeah, I am. I'm telling you, I'm looking right at it right now. I'm telling you that deletion event is only about 3/4 of the way through its process and just stopped. It's not a finished event. It certainly is a deletion event that stopped right in the middle of halfway through and then isn't isn't occurring to be continuing to finish. It's the deletion event started, but then stopped and did not actually happen. It's a failed deletion occurrence. It's an event that actually is only partially. It only partially happened. Something stopped it from continuing or finishing. So what are you saying? That chromosome number 22 has failed to become separate and two pieces? Yes. And I'm also looking at the exact location of the region where they say the deletion event occurred. And I'm looking right at the spot. And I'm saying only if it was exactly in the middle could it actually finish occurring. Somebody placed the demarcation line over to the right of the actual middle, because if chromosome number 22 is going to try to divide and actually have a deletion event, it would have to like have the region be right in the middle, so that like it would actually cause it to divide into two parts. So chromosome would be now two parts. You see what's so important about that? Well, everything. Because if chromosome number 22 failed to finish separating, it's not it's not separate. It's not to be considered a deletion event either. It's considered to be a failure of it's a failed deletion event that didn't occur, but started but didn't finish. What does that say? Everything. See, they don't claim that it's only a partial deletion event that started and didn't finish. I'm trying to tell you, when I was reading the article, I'm saying, wait a minute, how come they're not saying that's not a full deletion event that occurred? In fact, it didn't finish. I'm saying, why did they not see that? I can clearly see that is not a deletion event. That's one chromosome, one thing. It's not two. It didn't continue. It didn't finish separating. It's cellular division that failed to do it. It's something that tried to divide and didn't finish division. The division didn't complete. It stopped at the last second and said, I'm not going to divide. I'm going to stay whole. They're not pointing that out. They didn't point it out. But you know what they said? They called it a deletion event that did occur. And then they said that there's no contributing factors which link or indicate that any genetics diseases or disorders are associated with the fact that deletion event is why they flare up or get worse or onset. Why does disease occur? Well, they're saying we can't find any relationship between why it occurs and the fact that 22 divides or even has a partial division but doesn't actually finish dividing. Wait a minute, man. Don't you think it's really important to know that if a deletion event starts to occur, if it doesn't continue on past finishing the division, if it doesn't succeed in dividing, it did not complete the process. And so it's not a successful dividing. If it gets stopped in the process, it is a failed attempt to divide, and it failed. It didn't divide. Do you see? Okay, so what that means is that they're not pointing out that chromosome number 22 went through a partial deletion event that failed. I'm pointing it out. I'm saying clearly it's not anything else but a failure to become successfully divided. It was a deletion event that started up and failed. It was shut down somehow. It did not divide. Okay, so why didn't they tell me that? That's beautiful insight. Why did they tell me that? Well, they didn't tell me that. They didn't say anything about it. I'm telling them that. Hey, did you know that that's not even a deletion event, man? How come you're actually saying it is? I can't ask them that, because they're not even. They're saying it is, and it's not. They don't. I'm saying that's insane, man. You mean to say that they're not gonna? Did they not see that deletion event stopped? It didn't finish. Well, I'm saying to you, tell me why. I can't ask them. How come they're such? How can they call that? How can they say that if chromosome number 22 is one strand, that it's actually completed some division where it becomes two? It's not two. It's still one strand. Okay, great. So what do you? I'm saying that they are trying to say that there is no linking factor between the diseases or the reason that the deletion event occurred. And I'm trying to tell you, oh yes, there is. And I'm also trying to tell you that the deletion event did not occur, and that's the reason why. In fact, it started and then something shut it right the hell down before it finished its process, like as if it froze it right in the middle of what was almost done. And I'm saying that's pretty telling me everything. You mean something shut that deletion event down at the last minute so it couldn't successfully divide? Yes, that's the only thing it could be. Do you know what that means? It's also why they could say to you, there's no link between disease and the fact that happened. It's a coincidence. And so what I'm telling you is, it's clear to me, see why they're doing it, because they don't want you to know anything about what's going on, or the fact that you could read an article and you wouldn't know more than them, right? Right. You wouldn't be able to tell them they're wrong, could you? No, you probably couldn't. I understand if you can go to a geneticist right now and say, excuse me, are you stupid or what? If you tried to do it and the geneticist said, what are you talking about? If you said to him, how come you're calling a partial deletion event that you're saying it was a deletion event? And how come there's no term for partial deletion event in your freaking genetic book? I want you to answer that question for me, Mr. Geneticist. Can you do it? Are you stupidly dumb or what? And I don't know what he'd tell me, but I'd sure like to know what he might have to say about it, because let me tell you something. I'm pretty sure he knows exactly what I was asking him. And he would also be really upset and pissed at me for even daring to ask him that question. He'd say, oh, so you know already? Well, then what do you want me to tell you? We don't recognize the partial deletion event could occur because it either did or doesn't, and then it's not a deletion event, right? But you're saying that a deletion event occurred on 22, and it is not a factor for why sickness and disease is created whatsoever. It's not linked to the fact that it happened. It is not to be associated or related to sickness or disease whatsoever. We find no evidence. I'm saying, are you kidding me? So who stopped the event from completing itself? Did you stop it? Well, what if I did? Well, then I'm going to tell you, if the public is being told that when a deletion event occurs on chromosome number 22 at region 22q11.2, I'm saying anyone who knows that to name it 22q11.2 region knows and understands exactly something. Well, what? If you knew what 11.2 refers to and 22q refers to, whoever named it that knew exactly what was going on. Oh, really? Yeah, they knew the deletion event didn't happen, and they weren't going to say that or accuse anybody. They weren't going to talk about it. They were going to name it something that showed you some information you need to see. 22 divided by 2 is what? 11 and 11 are 22, right? 22q 11.2 is actually 22.4 degrees, or 0.04. So 11.2 is referring to half of 22, which is actually more, because it's actually 22.4. So if it's 22.4, the 0.4 are the first 4 positions where cellular division takes place, and the first 3, it's not completing the event yet, which means it takes 4 steps to complete a deletion event. It takes 4 steps, and it doesn't occur till the 4th step. So during the first 3 steps of the deletion occurrence, well, it's not at all. It's not a deletion occurrence until it hits step 4, and then it occurs in step 4 only. The first 3 steps, If it stops before the fourth step, it doesn't occur. It takes the fourth step to occur. So 11.2 is actually more than half of 22. So if it's 11.2, it's describing 11.2 is exactly of what chromosome 22 divided into half plus 4 steps, 0.04 steps that have to occur for a deletion event to complete. So you'd have to know this information. You'd have to say, wait a minute, so 11.2 represents more than 22. Yes, because it takes exactly 22.04 steps. And the 04 steps, well, they occur only after chromosome number 22. So it takes exactly 4 steps after 22 to have it to call it a completed event, or you can't call it a complete event. So why did someone name it 22q11.2? Because they want you to see the 11.2 on the end of it. Holy shit! Did you know that region it's actually 11.2? Did you know that? Well, yeah. What about it? Well, that's more than 22. But what they're suggesting is if the demarcation point is more than half, that's not going to divide in half. It's going to divide off, not at the halfway point, but somewhere to the right of it. And because it can't divide where it's supposed to, if it completes the division, it has to do it in the middle, so it could become 2 even halves and equal halves. So if it can't be doing the division right, it will not allow it to finish. So it'll stop the process right at the last minute at the 4th step. It'll say like this is not going to be a valid deletion occurrence. It's going to be invalid. It will not be 2 equal halves that actually occur to be equals. One half will be bigger than the other and dominate the other half, which will be recessive and won't be bigger, but will be weaker. Wait a minute. Are you saying these are insights only I could see? Yes. Yes. So understand, these insights come from a person that is already aware of something that if they had called it 22q11.0, it would have told me something else. But the fact that they called it 22q11.2 told me something specific, that if it's 11.2 halfway between, that's saying that's half of 22. It's not. So they're trying to tell me like 11, if 11.2 is halfway between 22, 11, it wouldn't be 0.2, it would be 11.0. And then I wouldn't understand anything, because I'd say, well, I wouldn't even know that it takes 4 steps. When chromosome 22 becomes chromosome number 22, it's completed the 22nd. It's 22. And now if you put 1.2 on the right of that, what you're trying to tell someone is it's not really 22, it's 11.2. It started out as 22, and it's 11.2 now. But that's not even half. You're trying to say that it became from 22 to 11.2. How in the hell would that happen? I'm trying to make you look at it. How do you think it would happen, man? Come on, look at it, man. I'm saying that's what they did to me. When I looked at it, I said, doesn't make sense, man. If that 22 divided and it was a deletion event that did successfully complete itself, it would have been called 22q11.0. And I would say, yeah, that was an even, that's half of 22. But it doesn't make sense. And I looked at it and I thought, oh my God, someone's trying to tell me that the process of the naming of that was that it went through exactly every step to be a completed deletion event except the very last step. So it didn't complete the 4th. It's like saying it became north, then south, then east. And I said, yeah, when's it going to be completing? Well, when it hits west. So it was north, south, east, stopped. Wait a minute, man. Did it complete? No. There's not 4 directions. We don't have a circle yet. Well, then wait a minute. We need to finish it, right? No, it didn't finish. I need to have a circle in 4 directions. You don't got 4 directions, you've got 3, north, south, and east, and it's stopped in its tracks. Okay, but then that's only a partial deletion event. That means that it didn't occur. There was no deletion event. Or it just started, but it stopped. Read the article. The researchers don't mention anything about the fact that it was a partial event. They say that it was a deletion occurrence that did occur. And then they try to explain that they don't know how to explain it because it's puzzling them. It puzzles them. The researchers were not able to explain why there's no link to disease and the deletion event. They said there's no link. We don't know. We didn't find one. Okay. Why didn't you find one? Well, I'm saying that I'm the only one that could point that out. Why didn't you find one? Because we're not calling it a partial deletion event that shut down at the last step. We're saying it was a deletion event. We're not saying it was. We're saying it happened, and we're assuming that you better know it was. If you're smart enough to see it wasn't, who's going to point that out to us? We're the researchers. We're the smart ones. We're the ones who know. Who are you? That's my point. Who am I? Well, I know more than you, and I'm not a researcher. And I'm trying to tell you that nobody could call you on your bluff because they don't know as much as you. You're the leading knowledge. That makes me angry because you guys are clearly describing a partial deletion event as a full deletion event occurrence. And I'm saying, no, if you try that, you're trying to say that the chromosome number 22 successfully divided. That's why it's not linked to diseases. I'm trying to tell you, because it did not successfully divided, there's no link to it. That's why there's no link to diseases. Who's really the smart one here, me or you? Well, understand what they'd say is, okay, wait a minute. Are you the professional geneticist and we should learn from you? I'd say I can clearly see you're dumb, stupid children that know nothing. Or you're hiding information from the world and you don't want anyone to know the truth. So I'm the stupid one. I'm assuming you're not in a conspiracy to hide the truth from the public. I'm thinking you're stupid and don't know the truth. Maybe I'm the dumb here, huh? If you're hiding it from the public, well, I'm the stupid one here, because I'm actually saying you're not stupid. I'm saying you're stupid, and you're not hiding it. But wait a minute, what if they're just not sharing information and they don't want the public to know the truth? Well, damn it, I should be able to assume that possibility, right? I didn't assume it. I said those geneticists are so dumb. They clearly don't even understand genetics. And those are geneticists I'm telling you about. Wait a minute, but why didn't you just say they're in a conspiracy to not share the truth? Because I don't know if that's true, and if that's even worse. If they're not just dumb geneticists, they're in a conspiracy to not share the truth. That's a whole different ballgame of way worse. That means we got a big conspiracy on our hands. That in fact, who's going to point out to those geneticists that they're stupid geneticists? They're the leading scientific knowledge in the community of genetics. They're the leading elements of everyone who knows anything. Who knows more than them? Well, that's what I'm trying to tell you. Who knows more than them? God? Probably. Me? Definitely. So maybe God is where I know that from. Are you telling me that God told you that they're dum-dums? Yeah, I'm admitting that God told me they're dum-dums, or they're in a conspiracy to hide the truth. And I said, okay, which one is it, God? And he said, I'll let you decide. I said, I'm not going to call it a freaking conspiracy, man. Because I'm not going to even be able to go there. I'm going to say they're dum-dums. That they don't even understand their own genetics. Or they're saying, well, no one could call us on this, man. We're the smartest there is. Oh, yeah, no, you're not. God's smarter than you, and I'm smarter than you too. And so you're not the leading intelligence on genetics. God and me are. Oh yeah, but nobody understands that we're going to call you crazy and say you don't know nothing. We're going to also sabotage your entire life, and we won't give you any recognition. Oh, well then I'll probably appear to be the dumb. Well, I guarantee you will, because we're not going to be your dumb. Even though if we are your dumb, we're not going to allow you to make us look this bad. Well, what are you going to do? We're going to make you the dumb-dumb. For coming over here and challenge my ass, we're going to make everyone think you're the dumb-dumb. Oh, okay. So then, yeah, do you think they're going to believe you when you point out that it's a partial deletion event? We're going to say there is no term associated for partial deletion event. We don't know what he's talking about. If something starts to divide into two halves, but it doesn't complete the process, it's not to be considered completed. In the process, it's been stopped or halted. Don't tell me it's completed. Okay, well then right, fine. So then you're trying to say that we're trying to claim there's no link between disease and death and misery and a reason to look at what it could be that causes it? Yeah, because you're saying there's no apparent actual reason for why this disease occurs, and chromosome number 22 has a deletion event, which doesn't have nothing to do with diseases, even though in the deletion event, it's where they start flaring up and onsetting. So it's coincidence. They'll tell you that you get sick when you're also maybe a bad person and deserve it. They'll say that it has nothing to do with the fact that you're a bad person, that you got sick. It's a coincidence entirely. That in fact, there's no linking evidence that you sinned gets you sick, because you could sin and you won't get sick. As far as we know, there's no reason to believe that if you are a sinner, that you'll be sick any more often than someone who's sinless. So wait a minute, man. You're trying to tell me that you're trying to convince the world that they could be bad because they won't end up sick and dying from some cancerous disease? Well, we're not telling them that. We're just making them know that no one's dumb enough to claim such ridiculousness, that if you're a sinner, you're going to get punished and get sick. But what if that's what I'm telling you? If you're a sinner, you're definitely going to get sick at some point, punished in some extremity of, yeah, it'll be why. So you're trying to claim that we're all being punished because God's getting us, punishing us? I'm trying to say that I can see the link is directly associated to punishment and sin, and you're not going to listen to God. That's why you're going to get it. Oh, so why don't you become the master geneticist of this entire world and show us all? Well, I can't, because you're right now currently trying to tell people a bunch of lies about genetics, and you're the only one that really knows. You know more than anyone else. Who's going to challenge you and say, like, are you sure you're right? Well, what if we know we're not? Well, then I'm telling you, then you're lying. But I don't know genetics, so I'm not sure. Are you lying? And why would we admit it if we were? Because I'm telling you, if you're in a conspiracy to keep the truth from everybody, that in fact, if you want to stay healthy, you better do what you know is right. And you better know that if you don't do it, if you get sick and die of cancer, why you did. Because I'll tell you, if you get sick and die of cancer, I know why you did. And if you think that you're never going to get sick and die of cancer, I'll just ask you if you're a sinner or not. Or I can ask you a few questions like, do you enjoy the pain of others? But what am I saying? That I'm trying to help people understand the truth, and it won't be accepted because the world is lying and doesn't want the public to know anything, because they want the public to think that sickness is not associated with a deletion event, partial or not, or sin is not associated with death. It's a coincidence that you might be a SOB, so you get sick and die. It's just a chance. There's good people that get sick and die, and there's bad people that don't get sick ever. Oh, really? Where's your documentation on that? Well, we don't really have any. We'll tell you that we know from research that it's true. Oh, from research? That's all the documentation you got? Well, we don't have documentation. The research suggests it. Oh, that's convenient. So you have no proof to indicate any of what you're claiming, except research indicates it. That's an interesting way you're claiming it. Yeah. So how come you don't find a contributing factor for why cancer is a caused disease by punishment from God? What are you thinking that it is? I'm telling you that if a deletion event occurs successfully, You will be punished as a result of you completed the event, and it's too late now. You're in a division divided. It happens in step 4, and it's too late once you complete step 4. You are 2 halves now that are separate. A separation has been achieved. What does that mean? You're dead now, buddy. Whoa, no way. Yes. Okay. Yeah, so think about this. Think about this. If I was to tell you that if you start to observe that you're in some form of a deletion event, division, or a dividing, like you're about ready to become 2 halves, or yeah, like you're saying, I'm having some kind of problem here, emotional, mental one, that I'm becoming like 2 different people that hate each other. One says yes, the other says no. I'm going to say, well, did it already happen? No, I'm still trying to struggle. It's about to happen. Well, do not become 2. Don't have 2 opinions that are in disagreement. Just have one and say you don't know. Wait a minute. What do you? I need to know. What should I do? Don't struggle. No matter what you do, stop struggling. Don't fight yourself or anyone else. Are you kidding me? I can't. I'm struggling. I don't know what to do. Stop struggling right now. Refuse to struggle. That's all you have to do. Refuse to struggle. Under any circumstance, do not have a struggle. Do not allow a struggle. Do not allow it to happen. Well, what is that going to help me? That's going to guarantee you're going to be helped. Yeah. You cannot complete a deletion event if it cannot finish it itself. And if you refuse to struggle, it can't continue. If it stops, if you can stop the struggle, it can't continue or complete itself. So what does that actually mean? It means that if they can get you pissed off and mad in a disposition so that you're reacting emotionally to whatever they're supposedly not doing, they can control you, but worse than that, they can make you destroy yourself through a struggle you're having with your own head that happens to be with their spirits too. But I'm saying they can very trickily, somebody can very trickily disturb you emotionally and mentally to where you'll start to struggle with yourself and in your head, and it will cause your death eventually. And what will actually have happened is that you allowed yourself to go through it because you didn't know that you were allowing yourself to struggle, that you didn't stop it at any cost. Stop it and say, I'm not going to complete the process, man. Okay, wait a minute. Are you aware now then? What I'm telling you is that if you're going through some struggle in your head and you're fighting and struggling, I'm saying you are under cellular division, and it's a spiritual sense too. I'm saying you are having a deletion event that's trying to separate the good and the evil in you. And when they succeed in becoming separate, it means that they're now defined as no longer one another forever. That's the moment that you're done for. As long as they're still the same thing, they could be disturbed as much as they want. As long as they're still the same thing, they're not different. They're the same thing. It will be disturbing that they're the same thing, but you won't get punished for it. And understand, if they become different, you'll get punished for it because they're not allowed to separate and succeed. They're forced to stay together and suffer if needs be, but they're not allowed to separate. And they won't get punished for staying together, although they'll feel it is their punishment itself. Do you see? They'll say, oh my God, we can't stay together, man. We're going to go crazy. We have to separate, man. If you do, then you're dead. And if you can't seem to get it done, well, you'll feel like you're dead, but I guarantee you won't die. Oh my God, man, that's deceiving. You won't be able to do the right thing because you won't feel like it or even know what to do. You'll try to separate to fix it, and it's actually the cause for why it can't be fixed now. Understand, you can't fix something you can't understand at all forever. Okay. So what does this all mean? It means that 22q11.2 is a region that should have been named 515022q if I could name it. Because I would have said it started out as 5150 insane. And you know what 5150 is, right? Well, yeah, it's a term for something that's trying to be half and equal, but 5150 is 101%. And understand that you can only have 100% if you're actually including both halves and you're equal. So if 5150 is not crazy, it has to be 5149. And that's 100%, but not even and not divided equally. So 5149 is a description for something that tried to equally divide into two halves, but at one end just one bit, little bit bigger than the other one, which means the first half's a little bit bigger of a half than the second is a little bit smaller. And now what you just created is a dominance of the first half and a recessiveness of the second half. And I could tell you, if you know what that means, then you can't allow it to be. Wait a minute, man. I was trying to divide that into 50-50, two equal halves. Good. So at least you know what you should have done. I know, but what happened, man? You failed to make it a 50-50 split. It's a 51-49 split. One half's weaker and now is forced to be recessive. You know what that means? Enslaved. The first half is a master, and the second half is now forced to be a slave. The two halves are master and slave relationship. Okay, whoa. So what if I had succeeded in 50-50 split? Well, then you would have said none of them could be a master, or both of them are slaves. And it really don't matter, because they'd be fairly split. They could argue about it, but they wouldn't. Oh, wow. So what is 51-50? That's when you're going to try to say the right side should still be 50% when the left side is 51%. And that's not even possible. So wait a minute. You mean 51-50 means the left side's got 51 cents and the right side's got 50 cents. That's 101 cents. And there's only 100 cents in a dollar, my friend. That's 51-50. That's when the first side claims just one more to be just a little bit bigger to achieve dominance. And then also the second half claims to be a half that's not recessive. And so it's not losing. Well, I know, but the fact it's 101 cents means it has to be over a dollar by 1 penny now. What does that mean? Well, nothing if you don't have a clue. But if you know, everything. So what are you saying? I'm saying if the right half or the second half is identified as 50%, then it thinks it's half. But the left half, it's 51%. So how did the extra 1% get there? Because the first half says I'm taking just one more than you to be bigger so I can be dominant and succeed first. And the second half says, fine, I'll be stupid, but can I be 50%? No, you could be only 49. But yeah, you could be 50 if you're dumb enough to believe it and think you are equal to me. I'm 51. I know, but I'm at least half, right? If that makes you feel better. That you're at least half. No, you're not half. I'm the bigger half. You're a smaller half now. You're recessive and enslaved because I'm master. Oh, you mean to say we can't both be masters? No. If we achieve 50-50 split, then we're going to say, are we two masters or two slaves? Let's be two masters. I know, but who's going to be our slaves? Well, we could be two slaves that have no masters. I know, but that's not, well, I understand that we wouldn't be slaves. Well, which one of us is a slave? If we achieved a 50-50 split, well, both of us are slaves and there are no masters. I know, but that ain't fun. Let's be masters then. Where are our slaves? Well, there are no slaves because we're both masters. Well, damn, that's kind of weird, man. How come nobody gets slaves? Because everyone gets masters. Or everyone's just slaves and doesn't have any masters. Okay, right. So why would we both want to be slaves? good question. Why would anybody? Wait. Why would anybody want to? Could you imagine this? None of us want to be masters. We all want to be slaves. No, that's not true. No, it's not. You all want to be masters, and none of you want to be slaves. That's what's really true. Okay, fine, but is that possible? That we could all be masters and there are no slaves? No. Well, it is, but then who are the freaking masters going to whip them and kick around? And who's going to do all the dirty work? The masters ain't going to do it. Well, I know, then we can't all be masters. Mm-hmm. That's right. So then don't think you could. You have to all be slaves then. There will be no masters. Okay. That sucks. That really sucks, man. So we can't, so, man, it sucks, man. How am I going to be a master if you ain't going to be my slave? Yeah. I ain't going to be your slave. You're never going to be a master to me. Oh, man, you're going to try to say I can't be your master? Well, I'm telling you, I ain't going to be your slave. So how could you be? Well, damn it, then I'm saying now you're getting me stuck. Why don't you just be happy with being my slave and I'll be your master? Well, I'm same reason you wouldn't do it. Okay, so then we're on the same page, aren't we? You can't touch me and I can't touch you, or we can both be slaves. We'll forget about ever being masters again. Yeah. That's good. Oh, that's very interesting. Okay. See ya. I'll see you in the next one.